All right, we are live, and it is impromptu. Here we are with my sidekick, Pastor Norman,
Good afternoon to everyone.
and my shotgun buddy over here,
Okay.
Pastor Sawyer, and myself. I'm Tony Sawyer. It's good to have you guys with us, and we were having a good chat before you came in. In fact, Pastor Sawyer was already thinking that he was live, so he had already started what he wanted to say today.
You're ready to go. Ready to
Go ahead,
go.
go ahead and say what you want to say. Go ahead and do it.
Okay.
You were talking about what if we shut down?
Yeah. If we shut down, is it possible that this may not apply to everybody that's listening? I'm reflected back to what got us started in this was cell groups.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And is it possible that our previous contract journey is over and he's telling us to go back to our foundation and start over, but this time it would be a different set of beings, because I sense that there are some light beings that did not get into the full impact of the lifetime of man. The lifetime of the physical body is very short compared to the eternal.
Yeah.
So we don't ever, not any of us ever in this physical world complete a complete assignment. But as many times we have to start where we left off, and in the end, it will conglomerate itself into a finished work out of those pieces, like a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take one piece and say the puzzle is completely finished. It takes a combination of pieces, which is a combination of events that we would call darkness or negative.
Now, can you talk this way? And
Yeah,
not
I'm
that
looking
way?
at.
You're looking at the little computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So God is the self that you are, and God is the self that you are not, because there's nothing else exists outside of God, but you are not. I don't know where that come from. But anyway,
Can I read a couple
yeah.
of scriptures? I don't know why I want to read this, and we were just chatting. Hey, Linda, I'm glad you're here, sweetheart. You're the only one here right now, and that's wonderful. We have a captive audience. Uh, Pastor Norman, we were talking, and we were just dealing with things, how things are right now in our personal lives. Some things that he's dealing with on his end regarding his facility that he's been using, and things that we're dealing with on this end. Pastor going to have some more shoulder surgery, I think. But anyway, these changes that come up, we tend to think when they come up, they make us feel like we're disconnected, or we have stepped out of line or out of alignment, or there's something we're missing. And that's what we were talking about before you came in. And here comes Buzz as well. Hey, Buzz, I'm glad you're here. So that's what we were talking about before you guys got in here. And I wanted to read a couple of scriptures actually, and I don't know why I wanted to focus on this. Going back to something you had said, Pastor Norman, several weeks ago, I think, and you were talking about being born again. And I don't remember all of the context of what you were talking about, but I think what we've witnessed in the evangelical church, when we talk about the born again experience, we think it's an experience that of something being received, Holy Spirit being received, and then our lives becoming more spiritual. We become more spiritually aware. We have altered states. All of those things we kind of we kind of expanded on what that born again experience is in the evangelical church. But when you go back to the scriptures don't tell you that those any of those things are evidence of being born again. There's no phenomena connected with being born again. I remember in the Matrix when Neo was found and they unplugged him, he looked around. He woke up and looked around and saw what was actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
That was an awakening. That
Mm-hmm.
was being born again. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have taken that term and misinterpreted it.
Exactly.
And there are a lot of people who've had spiritual experiences who are what we call the devout Christians uh, who have not yet been born again
Mm-hmm.
because they're still not awake.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I think the reason why is because of, again, um understanding. It's funny because I was actually listening to Derek Prince this morning on YouTube. I went back. I just had to was compelled to put in what I've been teaching concerning what is man. And so Derek Prince came up, and I was listening to him, and he got on the topic of being born again. And so again, I've been on this journey, and I discovered that a lot of what we discuss in church, or what we preach and teach, is more coming from the egotistic side of us. It's a soulish thing. And so when you mention about being born again, that is the soulish part of us, perception of something happening. But the spiritual part, like you said, is us becoming more aware.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that we're receiving. It's something, just us literally waking up. And so, like when you mentioned Neo, remember when they unplugged him and he started looking around. Of course, the guy said he's about to pop. He's about to pop, and he did, because he could not handle the reality of the truth of him awakening. And so what's happening is the soulish part of us, as we are being awakened, is going through a shock
Mm-hmm.
itself, because it's fighting so much to be self-sufficient. And I discovered that's what actually the fall of man was. It was they rebel because of they will having the desire to be self-sufficient. And when I looked up the word self-sufficient, of course you find the word egotistic. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
it's man trying to be God without God. In essence,
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't have no
Yes.
need of you. That was also the reasoning for Genesis chapter 11, when the story says that God confounded, because he said mankind was one and they had one language. And whatever they imagined, it would not be restrained unto them, which means just like God is a creative being. And so, because we're created in his image and in his likeness, we have the ability to create as well. But we're trying to do it separate rather than being
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one, or
Mm-hmm.
realizing that we are intertwined, merged. There's no English word we could really use to describe how we are one with God.
Exactly. And you make me think of when you said man trying to be God. You remember there's a scripture, and I think it's in Isaiah or Ezekiel, I can't remember where he said, I will exalt myself above the most high.
That's exactly the scripture I came
And
up with.
that's the ego trying to be God.
Exactly.
And when actuality, we're already that.
Mm,
I heard a young man say this yesterday, that God is ultimate consciousness, all consciousness, the consciousness of this whole universe. And he gave the analogy of the brain being locked in darkness. Our brains are enclosed in darkness.
mhm,
It has no way of reaching out except through the senses. And so our five senses is what relays information to that brain that's enclosed in darkness. But the
mm,
brain is what's controlling this whole mechanism. But it's
exactly.
doing it with the information and data that's coming through the senses. And
Mm,
so he said the universal intelligence, which is God and awareness, he says we as beings are like the five senses, relaying information back to that universal intelligence and that
Mhm.
consciousness. So that's what we do. But I wanted to read this in and by the way, in the Matrix, where they got the name Neo, they got it from the neocortex of the brain.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
It is good, yeah.
That
But
is
in first John, and I don't know why I wanted to focus on this, but I was thinking about that born again experience. In First John, the first chapter, the very first verse, it says, "That which from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked upon, and our hands have handled of the word of life." He said, "For the life was manifested," and he goes on down talking about some other things. And in the fifth verse, he says, "This then is the message which we've heard of him
Mhm.
and declare unto you that God is light and in him is no darkness." And then he goes on to say in the ninth verse, "He that saith he is in the light and hates his brother is in darkness even until now. He
Mhm.
that loves his brother abides in the light, and there is no occasion of stumbling in him. But he that hates his brother is in darkness and walks in darkness and knows not where he goes, because that darkness has blinded his eyes." And if you jump over to the fourth chapter of that same book, First John and verse 7, it says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loves is born of God and knows God." That's totally different from what we have been teaching and have been taught.
Mhm.
Everyone that loves is born of God and knows God. He that loves not knows not God, for God is love. Then he
Mhm.
goes into the 12th verse. He says, "No man has seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwells in us." How many of us as Christian believers have said, God lives in me, but we don't
Mhm.
love?
Exactly.
Well, answer this. What is an oxymoron?
It's when it's like hot ice. See, there the ice is cold, but then there's hot ice. So it's like an opposite, but it's the same.
What do you use it for?
What do you use it
Yeah,
for?
what do you use that ice for?
You use it to keep things cold that are for longer periods of time, real cold,
So it's not.
and it'll actually burn you. It's hot ice.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So why'd you ask that question?
I see something about us. We are the uncovered word of God.
Hmm. Well, let me finish this
Okay,
and
go
then I'll
ahead.
let you go into that. But right, he says, "If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us." And in the 13th verse, it says, "Hereby know we that we dwell in him, and he in us, because
Mhm.
he have given us of his spirit, which is love."
Yeah,
So there are thousands, I should say millions of us who claim that God lives in us, but there's no love there.
exactly. 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 And it's funny that you said that because that was something that Derek Princess said this morning on it when we are operating truly in and I'll just say for the sake of understanding our God self or our divine self. um there are many, like you said, say that, but there's no evidence, there's no
Right.
proof, there's no fruit of it. And that was
Right.
something that I was sharing last night, because I began a new teaching last night, the revelation of Adam. And one of the first things that after the Lord had created male and female, the word said he blessed them and
Mhm.
he commanded them
Mhm.
to be fruitful. So now the church is taught when we use the word fruitful, that means to go have babies. But that was not what the word fruitful meant there. There is a word in that particular verse that does make reference to that. But the first command was to be fruitful. And so that word fruitful means to produce something beneficial or
Okay.
producing something good. And so when I
Mhm.
thought about that, God is a creative being, and we are created also to create. And so I thought about that. If I fulfill my assignment as him and him as me, then I should also go forth and create something that's going to be beneficial. All right.
Right.
And so the word beneficial means something that is good or helpful. And so, just like, for example, the chairs we sitting in, someone had the idea. And so they came up with the idea, came from out of their imagination. They created it, and it's now what beneficial to us. Is something that was produced to be helpful. And so that was the thing I began to think about. If I am created in the image and the likeness of God, then I need to be creating something that others can benefit from. Or how can I help mankind?
You watch yourself create yourself.
Exactly.
Now, the game is good versus evil. Let's just look at it through God's eyes and see that is God in all things is that part that never can die.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, cease to exist. So take an experiment with this thing. Go to the farmer's market or go out and find some pear trees or fruit trees and look at it. Take your time with it. God is looking at, let's say, God is looking at the life that He is. You see, God's presence does not have to say anything for it to be truth.
Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why y'all got to say that at the same time?
Hey, that's
Mhm.
what we call oneness.
Well, my sweetie pie Tootie, my niece-in-law, is here with us today. Hello, Tootie, and Dovey's come in.
Oh, really?
Hmm. So
I see you.
we have given the impression that a person is born of God because they exhibit certain traits of what we consider saintly. They live clean lives. They don't cuss. They don't smoke. They don't run around. They don't have outside affairs, and they go to church all the time, and they pray and they know their Bible, and we've given all of those different things attached to what we consider a person being born again. But when you look at what he said here in these scriptures, a person must, our goal is to just walk in love, period.
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
that is our only goal.
Exactly. And that's the attitude and the mindset that we should have. And that's been part of the research and the journey that I've been taking. And it's funny that Dad brought it up about good and evil. And so when again thinking about what Jesus said, especially to the Christian church, where he said the greatest commandment is to love.
Yes.
Love. If I'm going to command you, if I'm going to give any commandment, it's simple. Just love. Because everything else would hinge on your ability and capacity in the awakened state to just love with no stipulations, no strings attached whatsoever. And so if we realize it, and one of the most memorized verses in Christendom is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And so realize there was no stipulation for God to give his son. He loved mankind in his fallen state, in his unawakened state. It was no stipulation that they had to do this and do that in order for him to love them. He loved them just because. And if we could get to that place of loving one another just because with no stipulation, we will begin to have the manifestation of the expression of God in totality.
Yes, and I'm going to shut up because I know he's got something he wants to share. But the problem has been for me, and I'm it's not a problem anymore. It's becoming less of a problem, I should say, is knowing what love is. And we have a concept or a misconception of what love is. And our conception of love is someone that's affectionate, someone that is kind, someone who is always supportive, in the sense that I'm going to be there to help you all the time. We have all of these different things that we say is love, but when you look at what love truly is, love is the one who breaks your leg to fix your leg. It's the one that spanks your child to help your child know and understand. It's the one who stops enabling the one who has the addiction problem, not helping them by giving them more money and giving them what they're addicted to. It's the one that denies the pleasure of the ego and the pleasure of the addiction. So we've misunderstood. It's not just being nice.
No, no, no.
It's not just being nice. And so we've misunderstood what love actually is.
And Ma, I'm glad that you brought that point up, because that has been one of the challenges again, not just in the Christian church,
Right.
but that's been a challenge with people understanding leaders. They
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
they don't realize it's not so much that the leaders has misrepresented themselves. They had a misconception of what a leader is, because even as you share with me, the challenge that I had with being a prophet and then pulled into the pastoralship, that there was two different uh paradigms of how they
Hmm.
both operate and function. And so there was a contention, because we know that prophets, they just say what they say and they go on about their business. Whereas, like you said, the pastor's the one that's supposed to be compassionate. They're going to sit there and they're going to, if you fall like a child does and you pick them up and kiss them, or you got a little boo-boo and so forth and so on. But that is not the real concept of a loving leader.
It's not.
Like you said, uh, a leader is a real loving leader when there is something, like you said, concerning a child. If a child is doing something that could be detrimental or could later on harm them, and that mother or that father has to reprimand or spank that hand, that is love. And we
Hmm.
know that even scripture says that God chastised those who he loved. And so that word chastise don't mean a whip or whatever. He brings correction. He brings
Yes.
an adjustment in your life. And we should be able to understand that it's not always going to be something that you're going to feel comfortable or it's going to be pleasurable. It's
Yeah.
just like you said, I've been an athlete and I know about breaking bones, and then the bone heal, and then you go back and get examined again only to realize that the bone healed wrong.
Hmm.
And so now the doctor got to go break the leg again. So now you thinking that's being evil, that's being mean, but no, because if he did not break the leg and you continue in that state of healing wrong, like so many people in life, not just in the church, in life, there's
Yes.
certain things that happen to us and we didn't properly heal right. And so
Hmm. Hmm.
something has to come by the plan of God to break us so that we could come back into right alignment again. Because if we
Yes.
don't, it's
Yes.
going to be detrimental to us
Yes.
in the future. And
Yes.
so
And you,
people misunderstand pastors who is trying to bring correction. Now he don't love me. Or I joined this church and it was so loving. Now there's no love. No, you
hmm
wanted the pastor to always pat you on your back, kiss your little, boo-boo when you fall and stuff. No, we sometimes, and I know this from being a father. And my son, if you watch it, it's gonna be funny. My son, boy, oh my God, we had the hardest time with him coming up. Just get into any and everything. He was 4, You
I
know,
think he still got some of those traits, huh?
some, but it's not as bad, not as bad. But this was the thing. It was funny because when he was little in elementary, you know, kindergarten, elementary school, all the way up to probably about the 7th or 8th grade, he would constantly get in trouble. We were constantly getting calls to come to the school, so forth and so on. And so I remember one time get beating Chris, and yes, back then we whipped our children. We did not spin
Yeah,
around.
I
And
think
I
it was
remember
good for him. Yeah.
exactly. I remember giving Chris a whipping, and he crying now, and I go to my room, shut my bedroom door, and now I'm crying because I had to whip him. It
Yeah.
it hurt me to
Yeah.
whip him as a father, but
I thoroughly understand because my dad was like that. He would whip us, and then when he would do it the whole time he's doing, he said, "Why you make me do this? Why you make me
exactly,
do this?" And we say,
exactly.
"Don't do it, then. Don't do it."
Exactly. And see, a lot of people misunderstand what true leadership is. We cannot be okay with everything that we see later on down the road that could be very detrimental to you. And
Yes.
so we go into this process of trying to help you and bring correction. Now you believe that the leader does not love you. And
Mhm.
so the funny thing with Chris was Chris got to the point, and I believe it was like the 8th grade, Chris became this whole different person.
Mm.
We never ever from 8th grade to going through high school, we never had to come and get a call again from any of the schools again about Chris acting up. He just he just totally changed and matured. And the reason why I brought that up because you know we're in a time where if a child is very active, we want to medicate them.
Sure, sure, sure.
And
Exactly.
and the doctor was trying to get us to do that, but I refused to do it. And he just literally came out of it.
Wow. Wow. Oliver says to walk in love is that direct experience with God that we all long for. And the thing is, we long for, but what we long for is for God to rescue, to be show affection to us. And so our concept again of what love is where our my concern is that we're not really seeing clearly what love is. And Buzz says this true love is not of the special relationship kind that is ego based.
That's
Yes.
good.
And we have all these rules of relationships.
Mhm.
And I won't even go into that because our rules for relationships is what causes a lot of our suffering. Anyway, go ahead, sweetheart.
The eyes that I see God with are the same eyes that God uses to see me.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we got some loved ones in foreign countries that sit around in the dirt with no underwear on. And if you were to tell them that Walmart is running a special on 50,000-mile warranty on underwear, be careful how you go down and pick them up because some of them, the warranty doesn't run out.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you was going there.
Hanging out with us,
And
guys.
if you go down to Lowe's, you might find you something down there that's made out of wood. Put them on and they scratch you. You might well go back to wearing, going out in the dirt with no underwear on. Tradition, styles, everything. But you take a person been sitting around with no drawers on in the sand, and you put them in a country where they got to wear them, they don't think you're crazy. Well, we come into this world, we didn't have no drawers on. Somebody put them on us. So now all of a sudden we feel like we need to go around with no underwear on, and for even to change it, even to change that, it's going to take a supernatural. It's going to take a supernatural power
That is
to get us to change that lifestyle. That's the
I'm
you look
waiting.
at
I'm waiting.
that's the miracle power of God being able to be life with or without change.
Mhm.
That's what I like about this thing.
When you
I-
say be life, What do you
He
mean?
is the life of the one that's sitting out there in the sand with no anywhere on, and the one that's got a special.
All you
So he's all life. And
all you're saying is you're talking about life as we know it.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
but God is unknown life. And listen to this.
Unknown life.
Unknown. That unknown life is that there are a lot of people out here don't know that God is life. So it's unknown life to them, but he's still life. See, what I'm saying is God does not stop. I'm gonna stop using the word God, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Eventually, you won't have to use that word because it will seem to be outdated.
Well, I agree. In fact, the word love, we've used it so much. And again, that's why I say I don't think we know what love really is, because love is God.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not really sure what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that it exists, and it is, and that it is what we are as well. But we
Mm-hmm.
don't really know with our minds, we don't really know what God is or what love is.
Exactly.
Now,
I agree with that 100%. We seem to forget that we're trying to understand something that is eternal with
With the
our
finite mind.
finite minds, which
Mhm,
means that is the soulish
mhm,
part of
mhm,
us that
mhm.
conditions itself, that's trying to understand a concept and bring it on this level, and that's impossible.
It is. It
Just
is.
like mom always said, what is, we use the word spirit, but what is spirit really? Who
Right.
can really
Right.
describe and explain what spirit is? In our minds, we think of the best way, like vapor, or water that's able to take any shape of whatever is put in, and so forth. And so
Mhm,
that
mhm.
is our attempt. But just like you just read the scripture out of First John, about how can we say we love God who we never see?
And how can we say God dwells in us if
Exactly.
we're not walking in that love for one another? And Linda mentions this, and we've said this a lot of times. Recognizing others as yourself is love, and I know that's true with my heart, but with my mind, I'm not sure. When we look at others, are we really recognizing them as ourselves?
No, and I
Most
know why.
times we're not.
And I know why, because this is what we say, and this is being legalistic, and we don't even realize it. I love you, but I don't have to like you.
Okay.
And what we say, and the reason why people say that in religious circles is based off of what Jesus said in the commandment for us to love. Then I know I gotta love you in order for me, like we said back in the day, in order for me to make it to heaven, I gotta love you, but I ain't gotta like you.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
Dad, that's an oxymoron.
It is.
mm,
That is.
You see
Yes.
what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
the truth of the matter is, going back to God again, because He is love. God not just gave His Son because He loved, but He liked us as well. Because
Hmm.
if He did like us, He would like Himself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so we are trying to again gain understanding through the conditioned mind of something that has no conditions. And so
Amen.
just
Amen to
real
that.
quick, with Dad, when you mentioned about life, it's funny because I've been teaching about the three Greek words that represent life. It's the words bios, suke, and zoe. And you made reference to Zoe when you was talking just now. Now, bios represents the physical life, what we
Okay.
experience on this dimension, everything that's natural. Of course, that's where we get the word biology. All right. Then
Yes.
Suke refers to the psychological life, which makes
Mhm.
reference to the soul, our mental state, our emotions, our will, the way we think, and so forth. All right, where we get the word psychology. But remember, Jesus said that I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. Now we think about gaining materialistic things when we say that that's the abundance, but that's not what he was making reference to, because the word there is the word Zoe, which refers to the uncreated eternal life of God, the divine life uniquely possessed by God. And so he wants us to awaken to the point that we are already eternal.
Yes.
It's like, for example, I don't have to wait to go to heaven to experience heaven. If
Right.
heaven is part of me, I can have the manifestation of heaven right now. And Jesus
Yes.
made that statement.
Yes. So when we talk about love, and we think of it as a person who gives, uh, but I've seen some people give to impress. I've seen some people give, wonderful, thoughtful people who give, but they give because they want the identification of being known as, I want to be known as a good person. I
Mm,
want to be known as a giving person. I want to be known as a philanthropist. I want to be known as someone who loves other people. So that's all still an egoic identity because I'm doing it for those reasons. I'm not really loving, giving because I love. I'm just giving because it's giving me some juice. It's giving the ego some juice.
exactly. Ma, don't you
And
preach on
then
here today?
and then I'll judge the other people who don't do as I do and say they're not loving because they don't do what I do. But it's because my ego needs the juice. It's like being in a restaurant, and we've done it. We've given people $100. We've given a waitress $100. But if I give that waitress $100 just because I want to make myself feel good,
Mhm.
I haven't given it from the heart.
Exactly. And when you said that, Ma, immediately I thought about what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 in his attempt to try to explain and give what he understood about love. And he said, though I speak with tongues and of men and of angels and have not charity or love,
There you
I
go.
become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, and not and have not charity, I am nothing. And this is the part that I try to get people to understand, and you just said it. Verse 3, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
got
I'm
all
over
the
here
bells and
doing
whistles.
community work and stuff. And though I give my body to be burned, if I
Hmm.
have not charity, it profits me nothing.
Yes. So what we're finding is a person can exhibit loving behavior without actually moving and walking from the love place.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is how we end up in competition with
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah.
We're now trying to outdo what they did such and such here. I'm gonna go and do this here, and so forth. So what is your real intentions behind what you're doing? Because I
So
love how you said that you can portray a loving behavior, but the truth of the matter is not actually walk into love, according to what Paul just said.
mhm, mhm. I'll give an example of the two of us, and I know we're not perfect couple. We're not a perfect couple, but I'll give an example. I don't worry about anniversaries or birthdays, him recognizing anniversaries or birthdays. He doesn't worry about me recognizing anniversaries or birthdays because we move from that loving place all the time. So we may celebrate something that for no reason at all. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times love doesn't have a whole lot to say. Sometimes just being with a person is love.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to do anything. Just be with one another. Really be with one another. And you're not really seeing Christ in a person unless you're able to just be with them without trying to build a relationship, without trying to maintain a relationship. Trying to build and maintain a relationship is hard work.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't have to try to make a relationship. We shouldn't have to try to build a relationship because we are all already related. So we can just sit together and that would be love.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about outward acts. That's my point. It's not about outward acts at all. It's about moving from the heart when a person is awake, the separation, the thought of separation begins to collapse. And love is the collapse of separation. And so when you love someone or you love something, you want to be close to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the first instinct. When you love, you want to be close to it. And
Exactly.
so it's
Exactly.
not about a lot of outward acts. It's about knowing that that person wants to be there with me. That person wants to be not so much be with you physically, but wants to be with you, wants to know you, wants to see you, really see you. And I don't know why I'm going in this direction. I don't know why I'm going in this direction,
I
but
do.
I know, but I do understand this. There was a guy who sang a song. Who was that guy that sang? I want to know what love is. I want you to
Tell
show.
me, show me.
Paul,
That was that
Paul,
actually was a group project.
Yeah.
oh shucks, Paul.
I
No,
want to
no,
be what love is.
Quincy Jones. Was it? Wait a minute.
no,
I
No,
no.
know you can show me.
that's
Paul Young.
I don't know, but anyway, it was a
I
great
knew
song.
it came out.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I can
know.
find out real quick for you.
Yeah. Then do I know it? I know it. I know it. I've been listening to it.
I want to know what love
It's not
is.
being bright. Shucks, I know the name of the group.
And I remember
my tongue.
the music went da 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 da. Anyway,
I
that
want to
I
know what
think
love
we
is.
all want to know what love
His
is
name was
because
Paul Young or something like that.
we all want to know what God is, and we all want to know what we are.
Journey.
Yeah,
Journey
Journey,
made
Journey,
that. Journey.
Journey. The group called Journey.
Yeah.
Norma's looking it up. Linda says God can never become an object of knowledge. I suppose love is the same. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
They
ma'am.
got so many people that sing this song. That's the problem.
Paul Young. Journey was the group.
Yeah, that might be the original
Mm-hmm.
Journey.
Rich.
Yeah. Buzz says the abundance is our true eternal nature. The kingdom of heaven is inside of you, and believe in me, and you will have eternal life as examples of this. Yes. And Gwen says, "Hey, lady."
Foreigner. Journey of Foreigner. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Lady Gwen. She says, "No need to advertise if it's coming from the heart." Exactly. Yeah, foreigner. Buzz says foreigner.
Mm-hmm. Foreigner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Foreigner is the group.
Journey of Foreigner, whatever it is.
Hello, Myrna.
It is Foreigner. Yeah.
Journey. I thought it was Journey, but Foreigner.
So Catherine says this. Catherine says, if we depend on another or anything outside of ourselves for our peace or contentment and happiness, it's a certain road to misery. Yes, it is.
It is
Yes,
Foreigner.
it is.
It's
Yes.
Foreigner.
Yes.
But Mom, I want to elaborate because you said you don't know why you're going that direction, and I do know. Because you just explained the essence of oneness, which is mentioned in Genesis chapter 1. When after God had created a man, and he made male and female, and he called them Adam. Again,
Mhm.
that's the name that was given to the species that he created. And then we know it says, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they become what? One flesh. And then it says,
And notice he said cleave.
cleave. Exactly. And that's what you were saying. Cleave, you want to always be around that
You
person.
want to be with
You
them.
see what I'm
Yes.
saying? It's not so much the giving, is being. And so you just gave an explanation of the difference of being in love and be loved.
Yes. And then remember, I've always said
Be
this.
in love
Yes.
rather than just be loved. Go ahead.
Be loved. Yes. Because I know that in real love, unconditional love, true love has no because. And I've said this before. You can't say I love them because. If there's anything on the back end of that is the cause of you loving them, if they don't meet that anymore, then your love stops. So that's not real love.
Exactly.
So your love can't have a because. I just do. I just do. There's
And
no because.
Okay.
see, that's why I always told you and Dad that I always wanted y'all to come and do some marriage workshops and seminars and stuff, because what y'all just said is so profound. Because like you said, it's not about giving me gifts during, say, our anniversary, birthday, whatever. Y'all are beyond, y'all have transcended that. And so again,
And
and
we appreciate gifts. We
yeah,
do. We really appreciate them.
but it won't
But
but
the gift, the true gift, is the one that gives, the one
exactly,
that gave it to us.
exactly. But
Yeah.
see what you just said, if Dad didn't buy you flowers during the date of your wedding anniversary, your feelings is not going to change based over what you said. You will
Right.
continue, you won't feel offended, you will be upset, nothing. Now think about it. In reality, on the other side, there is a group of people. If that actually happened, you forget anniversary, you forget birthdays, and you don't get no gift, they
Hey.
are going to blow their top. It is going to be
Yeah.
World War III. There's going to be unidentified flying objects in the house, all kind of stuff. You see what I'm
But
saying? And
but
so we've been conditioned to think that love is always giving something during a special time rather than just being with
and
one
it's
another.
all about dropping the rules that you set up in the relationship. Go ahead, baby. I'm gonna let you go ahead because Norman and I could talk forever.
Okay. We are every drop of water on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And inside of the eyes of everyone, God is beholding himself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, look no further, for if you do, you're going to miss him. Don't look for God anymore, and you'll find him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't seek him anymore now that we're in this place. We have come into this place,
We're coming to this house.
into this house to worship him.
Yeah, you're thinking of a song.
Yeah, it's coming to me. Um, the next time God speaks to you, he will speak to himself.
Mm-hmm.
The next time God speaks to himself, he will be another person standing in front of you, looking out their eyes through your eyes.
Yes, yes.
Now, we're talking about a we're talking about a mystical, holy ground that every step. Okay, he said this. You take your hand, all of you out there, and slowly place it on the desk or wherever you are, table. Rub your hand slowly with consciousness and feel the object under your finger. Let God experience what wood feels like. That's the reason why he used that this type of wood to build Noah's Ark that was like petrified wood, acacia wood or something like that. It
A
will
Kia,
not, huh?
is it a Kia wood?
Yeah, something like that. But it never disappeared. It never deteriorated. When I used to go cut wood in the country of firewood, I always like to find. Okay, watch this. I always like to cut locust trees,
Mm-hmm.
seasoned locust,
We used to travel up in the mountains just so
just to
he could
get it.
get locust wood.
Now, don't mess with those.
Wow.
Don't mess with farmers uh, with locust trees because they
They
use
use
the
the
locust
posts.
posts
Yeah.
to make their fence out
Mm-hmm.
of. And once you put them in the ground, after a while, they're petrified.
Mm-hmm.
They get so hard. Yeah. And then seasoned locust, when you put it into red fire, turns to blue fire.
Mm-hmm. It's the hottest fire.
Yeah. I like that. I like
Mm-hmm.
that. I like that.
We used to have a low pie wood stove
Mm-hmm.
in our other house, our previous house, and so he would get the locust wood, and this
I
low
love
pie
it. I love it.
would burn one locust log for
You
hours.
could bank your stove with it. And
Yeah,
I used to
yeah.
sit there in the window and the glass and watch the heat roll, the
Mhm.
red and the blue flame.
Yeah.
Now, hear this. God is the red blue flame around your heart.
Mhm.
Yellow, gold, red, and blue flame. God is the locust wood.
Yes, yes, yes,
Locust
yes,
trees
yes.
grow in rocky territory.
Mhm.
Now we're getting ready to see why there seems to be so much evil, so much darkness.
Mhm.
Look at it now and understand the full impact of that, and you'll see the red, yellow, orange, gold, and blue fire of God burning around your heart. That fire around your heart, the sacred heart of Christ, is those colors are there because those 5 colors are your oxygenation, they are your totem, they are your channels that you use to get through here, they are your personal music staffs.
Mm, mm, mm.
Each one of those colors symbolizes a certain rhythm and pattern that you chose to come here to live by.
Yeah.
Each one of those colors are also the colors of the groupings that you came to earth with and the grouping that you will leave with.
You made me think of your early conversion
Mm-hmm.
experience. Uh, now I have to get a good picture of this young man before he had his conversion experience. He carried a gun, would shoot it at anybody if he got upset with him. He carried a bottle of scotch in it.
Jack Daniel, not Jack Daniel, but the Black Bull.
Yes, and he, but he always had a conscience. But he was a little Al Capone. This young man did not grow up anything religious. He had some times when he was in church, but there was nothing like that in his family and going on in his life. When God interrupted his life and came into this trauma, I should say, that he was experiencing, the first thing that he became aware of was the heart of God.
Mhm.
When he saw the bust of Jesus above his head, and see, I know the story because he's told it to me a million times, and he's told it to you guys a million times. When he saw the bust of Jesus above his head, and his consciousness went to that point, and he was aware of it, and he saw Jesus open his chest and
Mhm.
expose his heart. That same heart that was exposed in Jesus, he took and put it inside of him.
Mm-hmm.
He saw that happening to the point that he saw the fire shooting out of that heart, like those pictures on the Catholic pictures of where the Sacred Heart. He
Mhm.
actually saw that heart inside himself and inside of Jesus. And it was at that point that heart burned so much that he literally was fanning his coat,
Mhm.
literally fanning his coat. And that heart broke him to the point where he was full of tears. He couldn't even speak. He went down the street waving at everything.
Yeah.
The love that he experienced at that point was so huge. And where he had a problem being able to read the words that he saw shooting out like a fountain, we know now, coming out of that chakra, that crown chakra, the words that came out of that chakra, he could read. All of a sudden, he could read them without any problem.
Wow.
Where he had problems before. It broke him completely free. That love breaks people free. That love That love opens people's eyes. That love makes people tender. That love makes you love the unlovable. That love will make you forgive a person that's really, really hurt you. That love is unexplainable. It's unexplainable.
Yes.
I like to tell
And
people,
one day he was this, and the next day he was that.
Wow.
when I go in the grocery store or anywhere, I find Jesus. If I want to, I can look for him, but most of the time I don't have to look for him because I found him.
Or he found you.
We find each other in
Yes,
the store. Now, here's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to go into places because if I do go in, one of the first things I want to tell anybody, I don't have to know whether they go to, I don't care if they don't go to church. I don't care if they don't believe in it. I just say that to make a point. I like to walk up to people and tell them, here it is. I see Jesus in you.
Mm-hmm.
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 And they stop and look at me like, this man done lost his mind. See, if you don't lose your mind,
Yeah.
you'll never see the mind of Christ.
Exactly.
If you don't lose this mind, you guys out there, you will never see the mind of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have learned about this is God is love. Any a lady come across in front of on the side of me, I looked one time, wasn't nobody there. And I looked again, and here's the lady come up, and I turned almost in front of her at the grocery store. She had every window down to make sure I didn't miss what she was cussing me out with.
That's right.
And I told her, you guys out there, I said, that was a time when a woman would, any man or woman would do that.
You'd hit your dashboard.
I'd stop the car, hit my dashboard, and I would say to them, let's get it.
Yep.
And there'd be gunfight at OK Corral.
Because
Because I'll shoot every. If there's any wind in they, if there's any wind in they,
and this is the thing.
tires.
Yeah, we got it. We got it. That's Cherry Street talking. But Cherry, and see, this is what we talk about. We know who we are as love. We are that, but that one that is not loving is still in here.
Mm-hmm.
That one that is not loving is still in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's that conditioning that was constructed of the concept of who I thought I was. That's still here. And it moves out of all of its conditioning. That's what it does. So even if you don't act according to your character, your true nature, you are still loved.
Mm-hmm.
But that thing will rear its head once in a while.
I like to go to heaven and see God kick himself out. I like to go to heaven and see if God can kick me out. I say radical words like that because let me share something with you guys. You must come to the place of the most ridiculous things you can see God doing. Or hear the most ridiculous thing that God could ever say to you and know without any doubt that it's him communicating to you.
Okay.
There's no other. Once this take place, I heard something like this. God said, my suspenders come loose. I wear suspenders. And he said, when they come loose, I always ask myself, which is your wife, to check the suspenders in the back and see if they come loose. If they have come loose, I will tell myself through your wife to hook them back. You'll never have to look for God again because he's riding in the car with you.
Yes. I want to make a point, and our time is about to wind up. I want to make a point that Jesus said when Lazarus died, they said if you had been here, he would not have died.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus heard about Lazarus' way in time where he could have gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jesus is love, right? He's walking in love,
Okay, I'm gonna get some more
But
on that.
he deliberately stayed 4 days. He stayed away from
And
it.
you find out in the last verse of chapter 10, just before going into chapter 11 of St. John,
Mhm.
he stayed a little while beyond Jordan, the
Yep.
place where he was baptized of John the Baptist.
Yep.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
love doesn't jump at the whims and the needs of people.
Now, the reason why he stayed there
Say that
beyond
again,
Jordan,
Mom.
the
Say
reason why,
it again.
yeah, go ahead.
The love does not jump at the whims and the needs of people.
Mhm.
Uh-oh.
We think that's what love does, but it doesn't.
Mhm.
Go
I
ahead,
use that.
tell
I
the
use that
rest of it.
analogy.
Edification, exhortation, and comfort means an edifice. When you build an edifice, the first place you start is not on the roof, but the foundation. What Jesus did beyond Jordan before he went into the mystical side of raising Lazarus from the dead, he went into the foundation and established the mysteries of how he was going to get Lazarus out of the tomb,
Exactly.
which was very easy
Mhm.
himself. He said, I am the resurrection.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
are we going to say, I am what God is?
Mhm.
Now, as you might say, but how about picking out something that you think God is? Okay, you pick it out. And I would say to you, it is standing in front of you. I
Mhm.
now am opening, listen to this. I am now opening the book and the scroll to the book of Isaiah. What you've been reading about in your Bible and in every book of the course, I am it.
Yes.
There's not anything you're going to find out about God that you ain't going to find out about yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Glory be to
That's
God.
good. That's good,
Ooh.
Dad.
I think I'm gonna run around the house a few times now. I'm gonna bust wide open in a minute.
Uh-oh.
You about to block?
I,
Uh-oh.
I feel something busted loose.
That's good. That's good.
I have a charge to keep, but I found out I can't keep it because it's an overcharge. God said, I'm going to charge everything, and you have to not pay a dime.
Yes.
Mhm.
He said, what you paid at the cross. Now, then he said, what you are paying 24/7. Do you know in order for you to see Jesus 24/7, you have to be willing to give up your values in this dimension of everything that ever happened to you? In other words, darkness, Satan, Lucifer, and demons have no more value in your life.
I'm going to read this last passage and we're going to end this because we're over an hour already, but this has been so rich.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
so rich. This is in the love chapter. And I remember when we were in a brick and mortar and Pastor was preaching and teaching, a lot of times he would use this passage and tell us this is what you are. In chapter 13 of 1 Corinthians, it says, and Norman, you started reading it earlier,
Mhm.
but it says, when it says in the 4th verse, charity suffers long. He said, that's you.
Mhm.
And is kind. Charity envies not. That's you.
Mhm.
Charity vaunts not itself, is not puffed up. That's you. Does not behave itself unseemly. That's you. Seeks not her own. That's you. Is not easily provoked. That's
Oh, glory.
you. Thinks no evil.
Yes.
That's you.
Yes.
Rejoices not in iniquity.
Oh, Lord.
That's you. But rejoices in the truth. That's
Somebody
you.
slap me, please.
Bears all things. That's you.
Mm.
Believes all things. That's you.
Mm.
Hopes all things. That's you.
That's your real self.
Endures all things. That's you.
Oh, glory.
Charity never faileth. That's you.
Ooh-wee.
He had us read this and
Yes.
repeat this after.
Yes.
Yes.
And he said, this is the true identity of the spirit man in perfection.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now,
Somebody
it's
said,
funny,
what do I need to read? She just read it to you.
Mhm.
but that's funny, and I never knew that y'all actually did that. But that's actually one of my lesson plans that I take married couples through.
That's
The
good.
exact same
Good.
thing.
And that's who they are. That's who they are, not what they got to live up to.
That's right.
That's
That's
who
who
they
they are.
truly are. Yes.
That's
Uh,
good. That's good.
yeah, I gotta read some of these comments because they're good. They've been jumping off the hook here. They're saying so much. First of all, Israel said he's got locust trees on his land.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Always
Oh,
was
Lord
and
have
always
mercy.
will be blessings. He said, Linda says, love is the substance of all feelings. Intelligence is the substance of all thoughts. The same translucent, empty knowing. And that's from Rupert Spira.
Read that on the bottom.
Catherine says, I looked for God, I found only myself. I looked for myself, I found only God. You make me smile, bless you.
Oh,
And
God.
Buzz says, saying love doesn't jump at people's needs. Sounds like God helps those who helps themselves.
I like that.
I said, Buzz, I said like this: God helps babies and fools, and I'm not no baby.
Pastor Norman, I met a man who worked in the highway patrol station who gave tests for driver's license. His name was Shackleford. I was out riding in my truck looking for locust wood. And I went across the railroad track up in the mountains and I crossed to a man's farm. The man, the man that came out of his house to meet me was Mr. Shackleford. I didn't know where he lived. Shackleford. I said, Mr. Shackleford, I said, farmers are particular about locust wood. I said, do you have any on your land? He said, yes. Cut as much as you like.
Wow.
I saw Jesus.
Wow.
It wasn't long after that, and I can take you to the place where he was. It wasn't long after that Shackleford crossed over. Let me tell you something, son, and all of you. Get ready to start meeting people in your life at the moment you're in for the last time. One, the last time of seeing them separated from yourself. Two, the last time you'll see them using God's body. And the final time will be they are finished. And the next thing you'll hear is them crossing over. He said, get ready to walk the aisles and look. And he said, I'll show you in different families which of the loved ones that they need to put a black suit on because they're getting ready to cross over. That I've had that to happen for real, and he's telling me now to get ready, for that is starting again. I'm afraid of it because, in a way, because you have to be careful how one of the things you don't want to do if you don't know anything about a horse, you don't want to get too close to him because he'll step on your feet every time. And unless you know how to deal with the nature of a horse, all you had to do was pat him on his knee and he'll raise it up. But I didn't know that. I'm giving you the mistress to the secret of seeing Christ in every man and seeing Christ get through with these bodies and walk off from it.
And we see that as tragic.
It's not.
But that's most times.
And I'm shaking. I'm shaking in my knees.
That's love.
That's it.
You guys ain't seen nothing until God earthquake your body from inside, the shaking respect of finding out the mystical side of your true identity. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop.
Wow, this has been good. It's been good and rich today. Good.
Yes.
Today. There's a whole lot more we could say, and I know you guys have some things you'd like to say as well.
Oh God.
But I tell you, this has been really, really good. It's been good for me.
God.
My heart feels really open right this moment, which doesn't mean it's any more open. It's just I feel it, and that's a bonus. That's a
Yes.
bonus if you have the feeling. So when you go soft inside, you see God everywhere.
I want to come and have, if you can get the people together,
And you
5,
saying,
10,
come again, come.
I will come to your house
To
and have classes with those who are ready to take the responsibility of covering whatever's needed for this to take place.
Now, who are you talking
I'm
to?
talking to all of them.
Everybody.
Everybody.
You ready to go to little small house groups again?
I'll go with them.
I think
I'll
you
go
are,
to them.
aren't you? You
I will.
are.
I come to your house, Pastor. I
It's
come.
funny that Dad, and we ended on that note with cell groups again, because that's what Dad started off. Actually, before we got on the broadcast, actually
Yes,
talking
that's
about.
true. That's true.
And I wanted to share that is one of the things that I discovered with a lot of different organizations, especially what we call mega churches. But I've seen movements here where they have the major facility or whatever, but throughout the week they have all these different cell groups
Yeah.
and stuff, and they respect one another and the leadership or the hub that's over them and so forth. But those are the ones that are really in the
Well,
eyes
let's
of
just do
man
it. Let's
being
just
successful.
do
Yeah.
There was a man standing in the medical room, hospital room, and the lady that he was dating was giving birth to a child. She didn't survive the childbirth. She died giving birth to the child. Her boyfriend stood there,
And the child died too,
the
didn't he?
child died, but the man stood there in the room and co-shared a near-death or a dying experience with his sweetheart and the baby. She came out of her body with the child in her arms, and the man in the room with others saw her and followed her outside the room into the light on the other side. They got to the gate to the place, and she turned and told him that he couldn't come any further. He had to turn around and come back. At the time that was happening, one of her friend's neighbors down the street where she lived was also sharing in a near-death experience.
Wow.
So we're so much more than these bodies, and
Yes.
it's more than our finite minds can even even think about or
Yes.
conceive of.
He said, Pastor, I want you to learn how to relax with the heart of God and look at it in its full power and watch miracles take place.
Yeah.
Amen. I receive it.
Wow. We all receive that. We love you guys. We'll be back again. Pastor Norman, of course, will be back on Sunday at 11 with his normal church service, and we'll be back at 10 a.m.
Hey, it's not going to be normal this week. It ain't normal this week. I would have made up my mind.
Yeah, we'll see you back on this Sunday, and we love you, and we're so glad you tuned in. Hello, Keely. I'm glad you were here, sweetie. And Buzz, glad you guys were here. Catherine, we thank you. Linda, thank you, sweetie. Thank you, Israel. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dovey, Deborah. We just thank all of you guys for coming.
Thank you for all the love that you are in the giving and the proceeds and the loving ears that you share to allow us to speak to.
Yeah, it was fun and it was good. It was good to me today. It was really, really good.
Good, tasty.
But we'll be back and we'll see you later. We love you guys.
Love
Stay
y'all.
sweet.
Okay.
Have a great day.